Hello and welcome to this video. We'll be taking a look at how you can set up a WAS-110 SFP Plus module to replace many XGS PON and XG-PON based FTTP full fibre routers and or ONTs. And so the WAS-110 is essentially an SFP Plus module that contains an embedded ONT/ONU. Together with the 8311 community firmware, which we'll show you how to install a little bit later, allows you to emulate a lot of different ISP provided routers / ONTs that are used on, in this case, XG-PON or XGS-PON based full fiber networks. It allows you to emulate, add the serial number, MAC addresses, etc. So what it allows you to do, for example, if you in the UK you've got Virgin Media's new XGS PON based service, and you've got the Hub5x where the fibre comes straight into the Hub5x, and at the moment it does not include a modem mode properly. So as discussed in previous videos, it's very difficult to get your own router working with the Hub5x, Virgin Media's XGS PON service. This is a way to get it working without the Hub5x, and I've been using it for a few weeks now, and it's been running solid. It can be used for other ISPs around the world. People got it working with likes of AT&T and Bell, etc., and no guides for that out there. So in this video we'll take a look at setting up the community firmware on the stick, and then later on I'll give you an example of how to get it working with the Virgin Media Hub5x. So yeah, it's in terms of people who want to do this, again, yeah, it's one of these things. It'll be at your own risk. So the sticks themselves in the UK pricing cost around £160 to £200 when you take into effect of shipping fees, etc. Cheapest way to buy one of these is when they do a group buy on the 8311 Discord channel, and that's the cheapest way to get it, and also the easiest way because they come preloaded with the community firmware, so you can skip out a lot of this video and just go straight to the easy bit, which is just entering your serial numbers and MAC address, etc. to get it working, which is nice and easy because it's just done through a web GUI. And so yeah, that's the easiest way. If you don't want to wait for a group buy, then you can get it from a number of suppliers. Again, that's linked on the link to the Discord channel, and lots of people help you on there with up-to-date places to get this from. I have bought a stick, one of my sticks from Fibre. It came from China and came quite quick, and it cost just a fraction more, like £10 more than the group buy, so it wasn't too bad. But then yeah, with that you would have to preload the community firmware on it, and again, doing this is a bit of a grey area with the terms and conditions. So again, you do it at your own risk. This is just an educational video showing you how to set up an SFP Plus module. Yeah, in terms of, like I said, majority of times, if you got a full fibre service and you get a nice ONT where you can just plug your own router into the RG45 port, a lot of times you won't really want to spend the money on this. But again, unless you want the extra plug socket, or just want the neatness of being able to just plug it straight into your SFP Plus switch or router. The main use case of these are for, where you get a router ONT combo like the Hub5x, where it's not as easy to use your own router with, which should be something that just should work. So that's where these come into their own, because it does offer that way of completely taking these routers out of the equation, the ISP provider router out of the equation. So it's has been a lifeline for that, especially when the modem mode on the Hub5x, for example, hasn't been working for over a year now. So yeah, these are fully compatible with XGS PON networks, so that can do full 10 gig up and down. That have been tested. I tested my 5 gig line here. I can get 5 gig up and down, just as same as using the provided ONT router. So nothing wrong with performance on these. So yeah, let's jump into setting up the community firmware. All right, let's jump into the setting up of the WAS-110 stick. So what we'll be doing is we'll be following the guide I've already wrote on my blog. So like I said, most of these steps, if you've bought it from the group buy, you won't need to do most of the steps because it will already have the 8311 community firmware installed on it, which will make it a lot easier. So I will put a timestamp of when you get to the bits after that. So obviously step one is make sure you plug the RAS into a 10 gigabit a second capable SFP plus port. One thing to note is I have this in my MicroTik devices is if it hasn't got an active fibre plugged into it, this is with the default firmware that comes on them. The MicroTik switch doesn't bring up the interface, so you will have to plug the fibre in if you're in that situation, or just use another device. It could be like a media converter, it could be anything else that can just bring up the interface. Then you will need to then configure your client device or your workstation, laptop, whatever we got, to be on the same subnet as the RAS stick. So the default IP address of the RAS is 192.168.11.1. So if you just put yourself, give you an address of 11.2 and put 11.1 as the gateway, that will work. Alternatively, like what I've done, you can put a static route in your current router. And then step 3 is to see if you've got a connection to the RAS. So you can do this by pinging. So I've got a continuous ping going here to it, so you can see we're getting replies back. And then you can then browse the web interface there on its IP address. Now, this will be the thing. So if you see a screen like this, then that generally means that you haven't got the 8311 community firmware installed. This will be the default Azure's firmware. So you will need to follow these next steps to get the community firmware loaded on. If you see in this screen, if you're not seeing the screen, you'll see in the 8311 community firmware on the login, or when you log in, then you can, like I said, you skip all these steps until we get later on. So now the next step is knowing how to log in to the into the RAS. It's on the default Azure firmware. Now there's a couple of ways you could do this. So there will be links to this on the 8311 GitHub. They've got some documentation on the RAS stick itself, which goes into a lot of detail of how it works and everything. So we'll read for that. They've also got this here with the default web credentials. So it all depends on what firmware version your RAS stick is on. So there's a couple of different passwords you can try here. Obviously, you really want the admin user for doing most stuff we're doing today. So in my case, it was this top one that worked. Now, if these aren't working, there is another way that you can get to it. It's basically you can just, which I have got in my guide, is you copy and paste this into your browser, and then it generates an XML file, and then there you can search through for the password. It'll be something like this. It'll be he's got the value admin, and then you got the plain text password next to the subscriber value. But hopefully you won't need to do that. Actually, it'll just be one of these two passwords. So in my case, it's this one here. So we'll go ahead and copy that, and then we'll just log in. Okay, so you can see this is on the default Azure's firmware, and we are on version 1.0.24. So that's good. We got a connection to there. Now, the first thing you want to do is once you're logged into the web GUI, we need to enable SSH because that's where we're going to be doing most of the configuration to upgrade it. So to do that, you go into Service and Service Control and just tick that for SSH. Do you save? Yep, that's fine. Give it a minute. And we'll just make sure that is there. Okay. So we've got an SSH connection to it. Well, we've enabled SSH rather. Next thing I'm going to do is download the 8311 community firmware for the WAS-110. So I've got a link to it here in my for my blog post. I'll put it in the video as well. So basically just go to here, and then this way you can download the latest version. What you want is the basic version, so it's this one here, which is basic, because yeah, that's the one they recommend using. So once you've downloaded that, you'll want to unzip it. So here's one I've done earlier. So this is the .7zip file, which is unzipped here, and it contains obviously the disimage file, all the things you need for the firmware upgrade. Now, this will be things, so depending on what version your stick comes with. So if you remember, mine is on version 1.024. If you go back to the documentation on the RAS here, we've got one called shell credentials. We've got the web GUI credentials, but then that's different to the shell credentials, which is the route to get into it. If you're on an older version 1.0.20 or anything prior to that, then that's nice and easy, you got it there. But most likely you're going to be on a newer version than that, and that we don't currently know the root password, but there is a bit of a workaround for that, shall we say. To do that, we'll go to this link, and this basically resets the password for root to root, so we can get in. And now what we'll do is, in our folder with the firmware, we're going to launch a PowerShell session. So I normally do a shift and right click, and then it'll open up a PowerShell window. So you see that's already opened it in there. Obviously you can do the old fashioned change directory, but obviously this will be different depending on, obviously if you're not doing it on Windows, then it'll be your command line of choice. Yeah, so once we're in here, then what we first need to do is we need to copy that firmware file into, I'll upload it to the RAS stick. So we've got the command here. So what that says is going to do, it's going to use SCP to upload the local upgrade.tar file to the temp directory on the RAS stick. So we'll hit enter on that. Okay, so this is something you might see, which is something you'll see later on for sure when we change the firmware, is it doesn't like the fact that it's because I've gone back and forth, it doesn't like the fact that the the key has changed. So if you do get that, then all you need to do is, so in Windows, you go into your user profile, top level of user profile directory, and there's a .ssh folder, and then all you do is just delete this known host file. And then we'll do that again. And then we'll go yes. Let me do it. wasn't accepting the, it's confusing, it doesn't print the, I was typing yes, wasn't printing it. There we go, so it's now asking for the root password, which we have set to root. So what it's doing now is just uploading that tar file up to that temporary directory onto the RAS. That'll be ready to do the upgrade. So yeah, 100% done. Awesome. So now what we need to do is do the upgrade. So basically we've got just a command here that'll do it. Now you might notice in the actual web GUI there is, if we go to admin, there's a firmware upgrade option here. We don't generally recommend doing that because it can be a bit buggy and it can brick the device doing it that way. So that's why we recommend doing it via SSH. So what we'll do is we'll paste that command in. So this is going to SSH onto the device, and then it's going to run the upgrade commands there to upgrade the firmware. So we'll go ahead and do that. Asking for the root password again, which we set as root. Okay, so that's just going through the installation process now. So what this is doing, this is installing it. So as you can see, active firmware is on bank A, and this is going to install it onto bank B because the device has two banks essentially. You can see that's just rebooting now, so that's why it's a good idea to have a continuous ping going. So we'll just put that to the side so we can see when it comes back up. So yeah, so I was saying the devices, yeah, so it's got two firmware banks or partitions essentially. So it's got an A and a B. So when you upgrade or just install the firmware onto it, it always installs it onto the non-active partition and then it makes it active. So when it comes back up, we'll have the community firmware on bank B, which will then be the active partition, and then bank A will still contain the original firmware. Now, the trouble with that is if for some reason it switches between the banks, which could be triggered by your OLT, for example. If it tries to trigger a firmware upgrade remotely, it might trigger it to do it if it reboots. It potentially could go to the other bank, and if it's still got the default Azure firmware, obviously it won't work. Your internet connection won't work for it, which is not ideal. So what we're actually going to do is once it's come back up, we are going to go ahead and basically install it again, and that'll write it to the bank A, so then it'll be on the community firmware on both banks. So okay, we'll just wait for this to come back up. We'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so and see we're getting response back from the RAS stick now. So what we'll do first is we'll just go onto the web GUI to see if we're getting the 8.3.11 community firmware. And there we go. So as you can see now, we're seeing a different GUI. So you can see we've got the 8.3.11 logo down there, and the people who made it, the brilliant people behind this. So there we go. So the first thing it'll say is no password set. There's no password set on the root. Please configure the root password set the web interface. So we'll just go ahead and log in. So yeah, so you can see that's installed. But yeah, like I said before, if we go to the firmware page on the menu here, so we'll see that we've got the active firmware bank B, which is the 8.3.11 community firmware, and then the inactive firmware bank A, which has still got the stock Azure firmware. So what we need to do now is just upload the firmware again. Of course, because it's changed firmware, it's got rid of the firmware. So yeah, you have to upload the firmware again. It's basically repeating the steps that we did before. So that's uploaded now, and then we'll go ahead and run the upgrade. So you see it's going through and installing it now. So it's going to be installed on bank A. Okay, so it's rebooting, so let's bring up the ping. And yeah, we've lost connection, that's good. Okay, so I'll pause the recording for now and then we'll come back when it's come back up. Okay, so it's come back up. Let's just see if it's loading up right. So we'll just refresh the page. Yes, we haven't got a password set at the moment. Obviously, it is important that you do set one. For the purpose of demonstration, I won't be setting one for now. So we come back, so you can see this. If we go to the 8311 menu and firmware, we now have the 8311 community firmware version 2.4.0 installed on both banks, which is great. So that's the hardest bit done now. So we've got the community firmware running on it. Like I said, if you bought one from the group buy or someone else imaged it for you, then obviously you won't have to do a lot of these steps. So obviously you might be rejoining the video now. So this is the point where we need to configure it. So what we can do is you go into the 8311 menu and configuration. It makes it really easy. So this is the great thing about the community firmware. This is what it does, is it gives you all the fields in the GUI, so you don't need to mess around with configuration files, etc. So the next bit will vary slightly depending on which ISP you want to replace a router with. So yes, I'm going to be taking you through how to replace the Hub5x on Virgin Media's XGS PON. So all we need to do, the important bits are the PON serial number, and you get this from your label on the bottom of the Hub5x. So here's an example here. It'll be this PON serial SN number here, so it'll begin with SMB and then some whatever yours is after that. So that's what you put in the top field there. Then we've got the equipment ID, which is F5685LGB. So this bit will be just the same for everyone. And then the hardware version, which is 1.2.1.b. Again, this will be the same for the Virgin Media one. And then we want to make sure that we tick the sync circuit pack version. And then software version, this is what it is at the moment. Obviously this could change. So it's good to keep an eye on the official guides for this, but that's what we set it at the moment. This is basically emulate what the software version of the Hub5x is, or the Hub5x's PON modem. And then so we've got that for A and B, and then all we need to do now is set the MIB file. So the MIB file we're going to be using is the bell. So it's the etc MIBs PRX300 13bell.ini, because that's a close match, because the Hub5x is made by Sagecom and it's a close match to that. And then the MAC address, we'll just use that one. It's set the same at the moment for all of the Hub5x's. So yeah, it's basically C4 colon EB colon 43 colon 00 colon 00 colon 01. And that's basically all you need to put in. So if you put in we've put in my PON serial number, which we'll have to blur out. And then what you do then is just click save. And then once you save that, you just go onto system and reboot. So we'll reboot that now. Yeah, that essentially should be it. So the process for your particular ISP, be it AT&T, Bell, whatever it is, obviously it'll be a similar process. There are lots of these sort of guides I can link to on the 8.11 GitHub. It's essentially it will take you through. It's essentially knowing what bits of information you need to put in, to put into that configuration screen. Once you've got the right bits in there, then it should work. Obviously, like one thing is this is an XGS PON device, so it won't work on any other fibre to the premises systems. It won't work on GPON or 25 GPON. It won't work on point to point. It's got to be an XGS PON service. Yeah, I can't guarantee it's going to work on everything, but like I said, there is guides on for different ISPs. You can see here they've got all different ones here for different ISPs around the world. But yeah, if you get stuck or there's one that's not listed there, then like I said, jump onto the 8.11 Discord. There's loads of people that can help on there, because it's a great community on there. Obviously, if it wasn't for these guys, then we wouldn't be able to do this. And like I said, mainly the reasons why you want to replace your router or something with this is if you got a router that's got the ONT built into it, where you don't have a separate ONT, and not only the router, especially the Hub5x, you can't even have modem mode properly working on at the moment. So this is your only real way of being able to properly use your own router. So that's rebooted now. So we'll just go back in, and then so once it's rebooted, how we can check it's working is we can go into the PON status. And this is another good thing about these devices is you get a lot of information about it. And then so it gives you all the information. So the thing here is we're interested in is the PON PLAN status. So it's got a 5.1 or 05 state. So that normally means it's got a connection. So yeah, like I said, obviously you haven't got a fibre connected already at this point. Obviously connect your fibre up. For Virgin Media, like I said earlier, you will need and I'll put it in my blog as well, you will need either an adapter or a cable to convert the LC APC connection that the Virgin Media use to an SC APC, which the RAS uses. So like I've used a cable, some people use an adapter. Yeah, so you will need that. But obviously if you're using it with another ISP, just make sure it's SC APC, because that's what you need to connect it with. Obviously hook up your router to it, and then hopefully you should get an IP address and response from the gateway. So you can see here it's come up straight away. So that's essentially how you set up a WAS-110 SFP plastic. Hope you found that useful. Like I said, I'll send you a link to the blog, which has got further links to all the 8.11 Discord and the documentation on there. There's loads of stuff on there. Just a quick update. While I was making a video, I've actually discovered that there is a newer firmware version out for the WAS-110 stick for the 8.11 community firmware. So there's no version 2.6, I think there's a 2.6.1. But of course, obviously, always make sure you look for the latest version. But yeah, I found the latest version actually comes with some more options in the PON configuration. So you've got this firmware version match, which this is the option that's now made it possible for me to, along with a nice guide, again from the great guys at the 8.11 community, has meant I can actually now do this, use a WAS-110 stick for my other full fibre line to replace a Nokia XS010 XQ XGS PON ONT. So yeah, so that's really cool. And one of the cool options on here is actually now you can actually change the PON node from XGS PON to XG PON, which I not tested this myself, but I'm guessing this means that if you have got if you're on an XG PON based network, not as common as XGS PON or GPON, etc. But I have seen this with one of my relatives who are on Finalizing or SWS. Someone else in the UK, they actually are using XG PON by looks of it. So that's interesting. It's now an option on this stick. So this stick can now do XG PON and XGS PON. If you don't know XG PON, I think it's basically like a asymmetric version of XGS PON. So you can do 10 gig on the download. I can't remember what it can do on the uploads, not as much. Again, it's not a common one, but it's nice that it's in here now. So but yeah, and there's some other options in here as well. But yeah, they're continually adding things into it. It's making it possible to use a WAS for more and more ISP routers and ONTs. So yeah, that's great to see. Yeah, so again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and just wanted to say a huge thanks to the 8311 community. Yeah, go and check them out on Discord. Like I said, if it wasn't for them, none of this would be possible. So, but yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.